Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah 40, ayah number 13, none will remember except the one who entrusts himself to Allah. The verb entrusts is in Arabic language yunib, which comes from inaba. And again, inaba, as I said in the last episode, means to defer all of your affairs to Allah, or to let Allah become your representative. Let the divine qualities become your representative. And as you do that, then you remember Allah, as the ayah says. But what does it mean to remember Allah? To remember someone means to become conscious of Him in the present time. So when you entrust yourself to the divine name or quality, you become conscious of Allah or that divine name or quality being bestowed upon you. And that is a higher place or status, spiritual status, than praying. As Allah says in Surah 29, Ayah 45, recite what is revealed to you of the scripture and perform the prayer. The prayer prevents indecencies and evils, and the remembrance of Allah is greater, and God knows what you do. So if you are praying to receive from Allah what you need, not something external, but more internal thing, then your prayer becomes your dhikr, and that is the greatest form of prayer. In his poem on prayer, in his book, The Prophet, Khalil Gibran said, you pray in your distress and in your need. Would that you might pray also in the fullness of your joy and in your days of abundance? This verse reminds me of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ saying, remember Allah in your good times, so He may remember you in your time of distress. What does it mean that Allah will remember you? Does Allah forget? No. But it means that Allah will bestow upon you the quality that you need when you are in distress. So the greatest benefit from our dhikr or invocation of Allah is that Allah invokes us as well. We invoke Allah and He invokes us equally. As He said in Hadith Qudsi, if we invoke Him in ourselves, He invokes us in Himself. And if we invoke Him in a word, He invokes us in a much better word, the word of the divine names and the word of the angelic hosts. So when you become conscious of Allah, Allah bestows upon you from the name you're invoking. He bestows upon you the quality you are invoking from the angelic realm or through the angelic hosts. Angels are made of light, and light is a phenomena that is called electromagnetism. So when you invoke Allah, then you are calling something from the realm of electromagnetic field to descend upon your nervous system, and you can receive from Allah the quality He needs to bestow upon you. And when you fully get consumed in that to the degree that you forget your own self and only become conscious of Allah, then that is when the quality is imprinted in your heart, in your being, and it becomes your representative on the world. And since invocation is not tied to time, place, or state, it is the only worship permanently required of the human being at every instant. Khalil Gibran continues in his poem on prayer saying, for what is prayer but the expansion of yourself into the living ether? What he means by ether here is again the subtle realm, the realm beyond the material realm, the realm of light or the electromagnetic field of knowledge. And if it is for your comfort to pour your darkness into space, Khalil Gibran continues, it is also for your delight to pour forth the dawning for your heart. And if you cannot but weep when your soul summons you to prayer, she should spur you again and yet again, though weeping, until you shall come laughing. When you pray, you rise to meet in the air those who are praying at the same very hour, and whom, save in prayer, you may not meet. Therefore, let your visit to that temple invisible be for naught but ecstasy and sweet communion. So here, Khalil Gibran is telling us that if your prayer is your dhikr, you can transcend the realm of distress or the realm of the physical manifestation. So you can receive meaning, guidance, insights, visions, and the qualities that you need. But Khalil Gibran points to an important aspect of the nature of prayer. So there is prayer for a need and there is prayer that is zikr. So he says, for if you should enter the temple for no other purpose than asking, you shall not receive. And if you should enter into to humble yourself, you shall not be lifted. Or even if you should enter into it to beg for the good of others, you shall not be heard. It is enough that you enter the temple invisible. Ibn Arabi contrasts invocation with prayer to show us the difference between the one who asks for Allah and the one who demands something from Allah. So prayer is a call, and the calling implies distancing and separation. And so it is worship. On the other hand, invocation is dominion, as Ibn Arabi says, because he who invokes is seated in Allah's presence. So that is the difference between dhikr and the prayer. There is invocation and the prayer on the part of Allah, and there is invocation and the prayer on the part of the creature. If you invoke Allah, Allah invokes you. And if you say to him, Lord, he says to you, servant. And if you say to him, give me, he says to you, give me. So that means that if you demand something from Allah, Allah demands something from you. But if you invoke Allah, if you remember Allah, if you do the zikr of Allah, He too invokes you. He calls you to His presence. And if you make demands, He makes His. But if you just want Him, then that's what you will receive. You become conscious of His presence. I would like to continue with Khalil Gibran's poem in which he says, I can't teach you how to pray in words. Allah listens not to your words, save when He Himself utters them through your lips. And I can teach you the prayer of the seas and the forests and the mountains. But you who are born of the mountains and the forests and the seas can find their prayer in your heart. And if you but listen in the stillness of the night, you shall hear them saying in silence, Our God, you are our winged self, which means you are the one to whom our spirits belong, our transcendental spirits. It is you, it is your will in us that wills. It is your desire in us that desires. It is your urge in us that would turn our nights, which are yours, into days, which are also yours. We cannot ask you for aught, for you knows our needs before they are born in us. You are our need, and in giving us more of yourself, you give us all. So dhikr is a verbal ritual, not tied to time, place, or state. And if you apply it in the right way, conscious way, it produces knowledge and vision that enables you to create through the world, or to transform yourself, to create something inside of you. That is why it is said that if you remember Allah, He remembers you until He grants to you the gift of saying to something be and it is, which means you will be capable of causing a change in creation. But first you need to change something inside yourself. So the most significant and the highest praise in the universe is the praise of Allah, of Himself, by Himself, for Himself. So when you change yourself and act in a way that is in alignment with the divine will, that is the praise of Allah, of Himself, by Himself, for Himself. You're only an observant or a representative of that. Dhikr is serving Allah through action in its final highest rank. Through invocation, the invoker enters the holy presence and becomes the lordly servants, able to say be and it is. Again, by changing yourself to become the representative of Allah, or Allah becomes your representative, then there is only Allah. You're only a tool in Allah, in this created world. So dhikr ascends through four successive orders. Its first appearance in the servant is verbal. Then it infiltrates until it reaches the depths of the heart, the core of being. And it reaches a limit. And then, according to Ibn al-Arabi, after it reaches a certain limit, it emerges or transcends. Since the invoker emerges from the invocation of the heart to the annihilation in the one invoked, to a vision of the one invoked. So not everyone who combines the letters is a speaker, as Ibn Arabi says. He advises us to differentiate between the one who speaks, al-mutakallim, and the one who pronounces, al-lafiz. Al-mutakallim is Allah. You are the lafiz, the one who pronounces. And the letters for Ibn Arabi are a community among so many others. Their images are governed by spirits. They are living and thinking, praising and glorifying Allah. Some form part of the world of the Jabarut, the divine power. Some are from the world of the Malakut, or the microcosmic spiritual realm, the realm of spirits that embody meanings and qualities. And other letters come from the world of Mulk, or the realm of material possession or manifestation. When a man composes words from letters and pronounces them, he is the creator of these words. So Ibn Arabi, for example, says, if we say there is no Allah but Allah, or there is no God but Him, or La ilaha illallah, when man says that, he has produced words with their own independent existence from his breath. He has produced beings that praise Allah. But the merit of these praises and every other word returns to the man who produced them. Like when you speak the words, it has an effect on the environment and the listeners. It can lift someone's spirit and make them feel better or feel worse, right? It depending on the words you are saying. So there are something called action by letter to Ibn Arabi, which is contrasts with action by will or himma. And then Ibn Arabi speaks of the descending order of the creation that comes from Allah saying be and it is. So as the Quran says, when we will a thing, we only have to say to it be and it becomes. Which means in the descending order of the creation, it comes from the essence, the singularity of the essence, and then the will, and becomes the word or existence. And the descending order of creation, as experienced in the invoker, is hearing. We hear the words we utter and become conforming with the meaning of these words, and then it becomes a reality. So the descending order is verbal, and it might have an image imprinted on the heart of the meaning, and then the annihilation in Allah, fana' fillah. And when the one who experienced that returns to the world or himself again, he returns as a new expanded existence through Allah. And there are two categories of people who return from this experience. There is the Arif, the Gnostic, and the knower, Al-Alim. According to Ibn Arabi, the Gnostic is brought back for himself. As for the knower, Al-Alim, he is an heir addressed in the holy presence according to the prophets he follows, and is brought back for us to serve humanity. So the Gnostic, Al-Arif, is lordly in his attitude, while the knower is godly. The Gnostic is under the domination of the spiritual state, while the knower becomes a sage, Hakim, a wise person who dominates his own state. He masters his states and gives each one their due right. So the end of the way of dhikr or invocation in its highest achievement is wilaya. Wilaya means to become saint or loyal Allah, friend of Allah. And the wilaya shares three common aspects of prophethood: knowledge without acquired learning, more through inspiration, and action by spiritual himma or energy, and perception of the imaginal world or the spiritual world through the senses. And when one achieves that, then the whole world becomes a transparent veil through which he witnesses the divine haqq, the divine truth, or the qualities that govern everything in the universe. And as Ibn Ata'illah said, some people perform dhikr to gain an illuminated heart. Other people gain an illuminated heart, and as a result, they perform dhikr. For others, dhikr and illumination are simultaneous. And this last group has dhikr which guides and lights which are followed.